Hello, Michelle. How are you today? What's
I'm good.
shaking?
I'm good, Lindsay. How are you doing?
Good, good. Michelle, has anyone surprised you recently with something they've said?
I feel like we both probably are thinking of something similar, but yeah, I mean, like there are some news stories where people have surprised me
Yeah,
with things they
yeah,
said or done.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say that's the first thing that comes to mind. How about you?
Yeah, maybe politics
Yeah.
and never-ending surprise.
Yes.
Yeah, but nothing else really comes to mind.
Yeah.
But certainly when this happens for our listeners, we're all in this moment sometimes. The question is, what do we say? How do we
Yeah.
react? And we have a
Mhm.
great listener question, which was the inspiration for today's episode from
Yeah.
Sophia. Yeah.
Yes. Sophia asks awesome questions. Thank you, Sophia. We love you. Really.
Yes, yeah, for
We're very
sure, for
thankful.
sure. And she's a listener over there on YouTube. So check out YouTube, check out Allers English over on YouTube. If you didn't know we have a channel, we do. You can leave
Yeah,
comments, you can subscribe, and you can see us on video, which is another way to consume the show.
that's right.
I'm going to go ahead and read Sophia's question. All
Okay.
right.
All
All
right.
right.
Here we go.
So she says, "Hey, I'm Sophia. I love starting my morning with coffee and your podcast." Oh,
Aw.
Michelle, that is so nice. We
Thank
love that.
you.
I've heard people say you don't say, but I'm not totally sure how to use it. Does it
Mm.
always express surprise or can it mean something else too? I'd love some examples. Thank you for your answer. Excellent
Yeah.
question, Sophia.
Another great one, Sophia. Love it. So let's get into it. What does it mean when someone says you don't say?
Yeah, you don't say. So basically, it expresses surprise. Sophia was right
Hmm.
in what her hunch is here is that it
Hmm.
expresses surprise. It's kind of like saying, wow, really?
Hmm.
And maybe you're impressed with something, but you're expressing that you are surprised. I personally don't really use this that much, Michelle. Do you use this expression
I
very much?
I don't think so. I think it is maybe a little bit old fashioned.
Dated. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think
A
a
little
little
dated.
bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
However, I do want to point something out. Do we, if you are going to say it, do people usually say you don't say? It's
You don't.
usually you don't. You
You
don't
don't, yeah,
say.
we never say with connected speech here, right? You don't say, right? You
Mm-hmm.
don't
You
say.
don't say.
We want to connect that. Mhm. Totally.
Exactly. So, before we get into some examples, we also want to say thank you to Dan B303.
Yes, we have an amazing listener who reviewed our podcast in the app, the iOS app. So huge thank you to Dan B303. Thank you for your amazing 5-star review. I'm actually going to send this to the team right away. So
Yay!
thank you, Dan B. And guys, if you want to let us know what you think of the show, leave us a review. We love seeing these reviews. It keeps us going for you
Absolutely.
here at Allers English. So review the show. All right.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Denby. So, let's do some examples. We have some little role plays. Here we go.
All right.
I ran 4 miles yesterday.
You don't say. I thought you hated running.
I do, but I do it every once in a while. Huh.
All right. Is that true, Michelle? 4
No,
miles? Impressive.
absolutely not. No way.
I love it. Here's the next one. I just got back from the mall.
Oh, you don't say. I was there too.
Yeah, I'm rarely found at the mall, only if I have to be there, to be honest. Only if I have to be there.
That's funny. I actually, on a cold day, I like to go to the mall. Like,
Okay.
I don't go there when it's nice outside. I'm not gonna go sit in the mall. But when
No.
it's cold and I still wanna move around and walk and,
Yeah.
just kinda I don't know, there's something nostalgic about the mall. I like the mall.
There is absolutely something it reminds me of being a teenager in the
Yeah.
90s,
When you get
right?
dropped off for the first time,
Oh,
by your
yeah.
parents. Oh my gosh.
No, that never happened to me because I lived in the middle of nowhere. So malls for
Oh.
me were actually an adventure with my mom. So she came with me. We shopped together. I
Oh.
never had the I want to meet my friends at the mall thing because
Oh,
my
really?
town was so isolated.
Oh,
There was no
wow.
mall. There was no real mall. There was like kind of a mill, but yeah, it wasn't the same as your typical commercial mall. Yeah, I miss that.
Aw. Yeah, I had it was Lake Forest Mall, and, yeah, it was always I mean, I loved going with my parents too. I loved going shopping with my mom, and,
Mhm.
yeah, but it was very much, "Oh, let's everybody meet at the mall," and we go to the food court at the
Interesting.
mall, and I
I,
like the
I
mall.
think I think a great movie for our listeners to check out to get the sense of this 90s consumer culture and teenager culture, right, would be Clueless.
Oh,
Clueless is always on TV. And it's a fantastic movie just to get a glimpse into 1990s California teenager culture, mall
yeah.
culture. So
Yeah.
check that
A
out, guys.
classic. All right. Okay. So, Lindsay, would you say this is mostly when you say you don't say, would you say it's mostly for positive surprises or also for negative?
Yes. Yeah, I would say, yeah, if someone says something really bad, I would definitely not if someone's family member died, I would never say, "You don't say." No, no, no. This is not not
Oh,
it's not for that. Even, anything it's for positive things. Things are maybe a
yeah.
little surprising and they're positive, but they're not a huge deal either. Like if you say, "Oh, I won the lottery." You don't say. It's a little I would say, "Oh my gosh, are you
Right.
serious? That's
Right.
amazing. What are you
Right.
gonna do?" I wouldn't
Right.
say, "You don't
Yeah. It's
say."
kind of like you don't say. It's kind of like, oh, that's interesting, right?
Yeah,
Basically that idea.
exactly, exactly.
However, I do wanna talk about one other similar well, a little bit different way that we do use "you don't say." So this one would be also expressing surprise, but it might be a little bit more sarcastic. Let's do this role play, and then we'll talk about how it sounds.
Yeah, we love sarcasm. Here we go. "Oh no, Buddy ate another shoe."
"You don't say. I told you to put them away."
Yeah, so that we've said earlier that this idiom in the non-sarcastic sense, in the genuine sense, might be a little dated, and I agree with that. 80s, 90s, right?
Mhm.
But if you use it sarcastically,
Mhm.
maybe it's even more relevant right now.
Mhm.
Okay.
Right. So this is basically saying like, "Oh, really? I knew that was gonna happen." Like almost
Hmm.
maybe kind of like, "I told you so," right?
I told you so. Exactly. Exactly. Let's try
Mhm.
another so our
All
listeners can
right.
get the vibe. Mhm.
Okay. Oh, I feel terrible after that meal.
You don't say. McDonald's isn't healthy?
Yeah.
So I'm being really yeah, and I can see myself saying this. Like "Well, you ate McDonald's, what do you expect?" That's
Right.
essentially what you're saying, right?
Right. So this is just another way that you can use it.
Yeah, love it. All right, Michelle, we are back to talk a little bit about tone of voice and
Mhm.
context. What do we need to know here?
Right. Well, so we've given you kind of two ways, a more sarcastic way and a more genuine way that this is used. And so, first of all, Lindsay, I'm to ask you which way you would hear it most. It sounds like you think that the more sarcastic way is more relevant to now, and maybe the other one is more dated, right?
Yeah, I watched this great show, which our listeners would love this if you're studying language and history. The show called Ghosts. I've mentioned this before,
Hmm.
but what it is, it's a story of this old mansion in upstate New York, and there are all these ghosts that died in the house at different times throughout history. Like there's a
Hmm.
Viking, there's someone from the
Oh,
1800s, like a wife of a robber baron. There is a singer from like the blues ages, like
yeah, like the
from the
20s.
19 yeah, and anyways, there's a guy from the 80s, and you can every line that's written in that show is based on their time of living.
So
So
they speak in a certain
mhm,
way.
they speak in a certain way. So this guy Pete, he is from the 80s, and I could totally hear him saying genuinely, "Oh, we got tickets for the concert." "You don't say," right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very 80s genuine smiley way. So what I'm trying to say is watch that show, number 1,
That
to get
sounds
the
good.
historical references, and number 2, it is a little dated, so I would use the sarcastic way probably at this point.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Maybe I don't know what that says about us as a society
I know. What does that say
where
about
we
us?
became
Good
more
question.
sarcastic.
Yeah, yeah, good question.
But again, you have to think about the context if you're hearing it. How is it going to like which way is it being used? So the first one, it's
Mhm,
more like, oh, you don't say. And the second one
mhm.
is more, oh, you don't say. Right. So you have
You
to think
don't
about that and
say.
think, is this being used
Mhm.
more in a sarcastic way? Is this person actually genuinely surprised by what I said? Or are they kind of saying, I told you so, I knew it, or duh, right?
Yeah. It's so important to pay attention to tone of voice and context,
Hmm.
100%.
Hmm.
And if we wanna get away from "you don't say," if we just don't like it for whatever reason, we can say other things, right, Michelle?
Hmm. Hmm.
And these might be a little more relevant genuinely for, 2025, like, "No way," right? This one
Hmm.
is very relevant. Huh?
Mhm, mhm. No
Mhm.
way. Yeah, so, "No way, you're coming to visit?" Right?
Do
And this
you
is yeah,
Yeah. This one do you find yourself using, Michelle? I do. I certainly do.
I think so, yeah. I
Yeah.
I would say so. This is pretty common.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You were gonna say something, I cut you
I was gonna
off.
say, would you say? I mean, it could also be. I was gonna say, is it? Would you hear this one in the sarcastic sense as well? Like the "oh no way," right?
Yeah, I would. Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think it
No
could be used
way.
in the
You
"no
expected this
way."
and you got this, right? That's the
Yeah.
cynical, sarcastic way of
Listen. Yeah.
thinking, right? Mhm,
Yep. Yep.
mhm.
What else?
"Get out of here." Oh, isn't there some kind of reference to a movie? "Get out of here." I feel like there's something there, Michelle, but I
Yeah,
don't know
no,
the
there no, no,
reference.
no, there is. Well, I always think people also say wait, hold on, I'm seeing if I can find it. "Get out of here" meme. Let's see, where
Okay,
this could be
yeah,
from.
yeah,
Not
interesting.
sure.
It may have to be a follow-up episode.
Exactly,
We'll have to see.
exactly. It looks like it's in a
Mhm.
lot of movies. Anyway, but also sometimes people just say, "Get out," right? "Get out,"
Yeah.
and that one, it to me, it makes me think of Elaine from Seinfeld because
Oh.
if somebody says something surprising, she'll say, "Get out," and she pushes that person.
That's
Yeah,
so this is I'm so glad you mentioned the get out
yeah.
because if our listeners didn't know, they might we might make the mistake of thinking this person's
Leave.
asking me to leave and we turn around and we leave, right? No, we're not being asked to leave. The person is basically shortening the expression get out of here and she's saying, "Get out." I hear this
Yeah.
more with women for some reason.
Get
Maybe it
out
is
yeah.
because of Elaine, I don't know. It
Interesting. Yeah,
feels like a more
maybe. But
female
have you
phrase, but
heard her say that?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it feels like something she would say too.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, here we go. Here's an example. "It's raining again? Get out of here." So that is more the I'm surprised, but I'm also annoyed, right? So like again,
Mhm.
it can have that kind of sarcastic tone or it can be more genuine.
Yeah, and I think I almost feel like Get Out is even more extreme. Like,
Yeah.
"You want tickets to the concert? Get
Get
out.
out. Yeah,
Get
and
out."
it
It's
has
like
to
you're
be
almost
paused. Get out.
it's kinda like you're saying, "I don't believe you. Get out of this room." Right? Like,
Right.
but you're
Right.
not saying get out. "Don't leave the room, guys. Don't
Right.
leave the
Yeah.
room."
Now I'm just imagining. Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad we're going over this. Yeah. So that
Me
somebody
too.
doesn't just actually walk out the door.
Right, exactly. And I think, this also comes into people's personal vocabulary, like Elaine, some people tend to say this more than others,
Yeah.
right? Interesting.
Exactly. Or what's another one, Lindsay?
Is that so? Right? So for example, is that so? You're leaving tomorrow? Right? So again, this is a way of receiving news that maybe you didn't know and maybe you're a little surprised.
And this
Uh
one I would say is a little more formal sounding.
yes, I agree. Mhm. Maybe
Mhm.
a little older as well.
Mhm.
Like I don't picture, Gen Zers saying this.
Is
I
that
don't picture
yeah.
anyone under age 50 maybe saying it. It
Yeah.
feels older to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit older.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or then there's you guys know this, "Really?" Right?
Really
You
common.
can't you can't make it? Really? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. Mhm. Which one of these do you
Do I
tend to
like?
use, Michelle?
I would say no way or there's nothing wrong with just saying really?
Yeah, really. For me, it's no way. No way.
No
Right?
way.
You could put a lot of tone into that response.
Right.
All right. Love it. Let's do a role play. All
All
right.
right. Here we go. We are friends and you are telling me about your trip.
All right. Here we go.
Okay. So was it amazing?
Well, I ate my way through all of London.
Oh, you don't say. I know you're a foodie.
Yeah, I think I ate Indian food every single night.
Is that so? Was it delicious?
Incredible.
I haven't eaten Indian food in ages.
Really? I thought it's your favorite.
I know. I just haven't had it. I don't know why. I've actually been cooking a lot at home.
Get out of here. I know you don't, or I didn't know you cook.
I do now. So, how was the weather in London?
Rain, rain, rain.
No way.
Were you being sarcastic there?
Yes,
No
because,
way.
yeah,
We know it rains in London.
exactly.
Although the times I've been to London, it's been beautiful. I'm going again at the end of May, so I will update
You
that
are
knowledge
for
base. Yeah, yeah. I'm
vacation or?
going for a conference. I'm going for a
Oh,
conference, and then for a
oh,
little
yeah.
little vacay to travel around Belgium and different parts of Europe. Yeah, should be good.
Nice. That's where I studied abroad. I think you know.
Yeah, you're gonna have
Yeah.
to tell me all your haunts,
Yeah. When's the
Michelle.
last time you were there, my haunts? When
I haven't been there in a long, long time, like
Oh, okay.
25 years. I don't know.
Oh, okay, that's a long time. Yeah, I was there a couple years ago, so I'll yeah, maybe I can give you some suggestions.
Excellent. Looking forward to that.
Yes.
All right. Let's go through this, Michelle. So, all right. So I started, I said, oh, I ate my way through London, meaning I just sampled all the food. All right.
Yeah, that's something common when people talk about their vacations where they ate a lot. They might say, "Oh, I ate my way through this place."
Yes. And I highly recommend doing that anytime you travel. I love to do food tours,
Oh,
things
me
like
too.
that. Oh,
Me
the
too.
best. Yeah. And I said, you don't say, I know you're a foodie. Now, this is interesting because am I using this genuinely or sarcastically?
I don't know if it's like, I don't think it's sarcastic with like a meanness to it, but kind
No,
of
no.
I think it's sarcastic in a way of like, "Oh, I'm not surprised. I know you."
Exactly. That's what I think it is too. So it's
Yeah.
not totally genuine. You're not telling me something surprising, right? Because that's what we
Yeah.
talked about, the genuine response. There is sarcasm in there, but it's not a cynical sarcasm. It's a positive sarcasm. You don't say, like, I'm not surprised that you ate your way through London, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. And then you said, "I think I ate Indian food every night." London has some amazing Indian food. And so I said, "Is that so? Was it delicious?"
Yeah, and maybe this one is a little more genuine. Maybe I didn't know that or something,
Yeah.
that there's a lot of Indian food in London, right?
Mhm.
And then you said, "I haven't eaten Indian food in ages." And then I
Mhm.
said what?
You
I
said,
said,
"Really? I thought it's your favorite." So that's a
"Mhm,
genuine.
mhm, exactly." And then you said, "I've actually been cooking a lot at home." And I said, "Get out of here. I didn't know
I'm
you cook." And I'm sort of saying, "Oh, you're not telling the truth.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't believe you."
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah, yep. And then when I asked about the weather in London, you said, "Rain, rain, rain," and I said, "No way." Like, I know
Sarcasm,
yeah,
right?
I'm sarcastic because I know it's common rain in London.
Yes, I love that this episode has actually been an exploration in sarcasm,
Yeah,
actually. That's
yeah,
really interesting. Very cool.
yeah,
So, guys, don't
definitely.
forget to hit the follow button as we finish up today's episode. That is your next assignment. Hit
Yes.
follow on the show so you don't miss our next episodes. Michelle, where should we leave our listeners here?
Oh man. Well, this was just there's a lot to unpack here. There's so
Mm,
much you could do. This is really about language being an art form.
hmm
Because you can use these, you can sprinkle these in, you can use them genuinely, you can change your tone of voice and totally change the meaning. It
hmm
can show that you know something really well or
Yes.
someone really well. Oh, you don't say. I know you like to shop, something like that. So it can really do a lot. These are pretty versatile and you can have a lot of fun and play with them with your language.
Yes, really good stuff. Thank you to Sophia for the
Yes.
question. And guys, send us your question to support@allearsenglish.com. If you have a good one, like these specific questions that Sophia is sending in, send it to us. We want to see that question. All right.
Definitely. All right, Lindsay. Well,
Okay.
this was fun and I'll talk to you on the next one.
Take care, Michelle. Bye.
Bye.